Hi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to a Wednesday webinar from the Climate Emergency Centre Network, an ever-growing network of climate and eco and community resilience centres using vacant shops all around the country. Tonight we have Nick Oldridge, who has been doing absolutely incredible work with the National Emergency Briefing that happened last November, and it's really building up to a big head of steam. There is going to be the People's Emergency Briefing film shown all across the country over the next 6 months from April to September in all sorts of venues from parish and community halls to churches, mosques, synagogues to sports halls to union spaces. We're hoping this is a big wake up call for everyone to get together and start mobilizing like on a World War II level to build resilient communities wherever we are. So thank you so much for coming, Nick, and for all your Trojan work and all the team. Over to you. Thank you.
Hey everybody, amazing that you're all here. And as always, I'm humbled that you've all turned up to listen to me yak on. But let's go for it. Okay. So I'm just going to do I think the best place to start is a quick overview of the film, what it is. And then I'm going to take you through a few of our guides. We have a screening guide and a facilitation guide. We have a zoomable interactive map to register your screenings. And there's a few things to show you basically. But I think the beginning of the story is explaining, and many of you may know this already, so forgive me if it's repetition, but it's explaining how you take a very formal governmental looking briefing done in a huge majestic building in opposite Westminster and translate that into a film that people might actually want to watch. And the way we've done that is to try and layer it up. So in very basic terms, if we just film the briefing, which we did, and put it on in all the venues that we're targeting now, I th don't think it would land very well. The briefing worked extremely well because it was part of being in that room together, this shared experience, collectively listening to all the evidence, and it had that air of importance. And we were addressing MPs and senior decision makers. So we've changed the format for the film so it's more digestible, basically more human. And so we have an element of each of the talks. And then overlaid onto that, we have interviews we did with every single one of those experts when they came off the stage to bring some humanity into their work. So you don't just want to see the person behind the podium, giving their briefing. You want to know a bit about how they feel about all this. And then what we've took with that footage, which we combined, is we went into a studio with a giant LCD screen. So the whole wall, if you imagine, is a screen, and we had a sofa and we had Mr. Chris Packham, and then on that sofa we had a whole cross section of regular people and a few famous names. And the point of that, imagine it's Gogglebox for climate. And the point of that, but not as funny, unfortunately. The point of that was to humanize everything and allow people to react and make it acceptable for some people to go, oh my God, I didn't realize that it was that bad, and bring people together around watching and listening to this evidence, and then taking them through and highlighting all the pathways to action that we have if we collectively come together and act. And so the final day of editing, you'll be pleased to know, was today. I think there are still a few tweaks to go.
Hey.
It's been quite a stressful day, so I haven't spent very long preparing this presentation, just so you know. Um,
It's all right.
and
You're a natural. We love
I'm a
it.
natural, winging it as always. It's looking at around 48 minutes long. We're always aiming for 45 minutes because we want 45 minutes film, 45 minutes discussion, or longer. But the idea being that a lot of venues, especially the cinema ones, think, oh, an hour and a half. Yeah, we understand that. We know what that is. So that is all going well. We now have a trailer, which will be releasing tomorrow. And so we'll be showing that in our assets and pushing it out far and wide. Um, and that will be part of the launch plan. It's like a teaser trailer, but the film starts being released on the 7th of April. Now it isn't a front-loaded, series of events with loads of premieres. It's a slow burn this. We want it to roll out at a pace that works for everybody. And it's more important that we try and put as many dots on the map as we can. So it's very evident to our politicians and decision makers that everyone is interested in this information and it's popping up everywhere in all the constituencies of the MPs. Now, at the moment, we have an incredible 1,000, nearly 700 registered interests in screening this film, which is just phenomenal. What we don't have, that's an initial process where you go into our website and say, yeah, I'd like to screen this film. Then we have a process of saying when, where, and taking all the details. And that's what we're trying to work up now. I think we have about 500. This is still phenomenal. I looked it up today, and there are about 900 cinemas in the whole of the UK, and we're at around 500 screenings, hopefully. So what we'll be doing in the coming weeks is we'll be trying to turn all those into actual substantial screenings that we can show on our amazing map. And I'm going to show you that now. But I'll share my screen. The first thing to start with is we've created. Are you seeing Zoom or are you seeing something called
Yeah,
NEB Screen?
NEB screen hosting
Oh, brilliant.
motorsports.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, because that's on my other monitor. So this is like we appreciate we keep producing documents, so we don't want to create confusion. So this is like a little notice board because we've got things happening all the time, such as technical guides on how to do projection and how to run a screening, which are being uh, done or conducted by our partners Cinema for All. We've got other events that we're running. We've got screening guide Zooms. We've got other things that we're doing. So anything that we're doing that's coming up is going to go onto that page there, which we'll share. There's a second page there, which just takes you to all our guides. So screening guide, supporter toolkit, and there's all the talks. But what I wanted to show you, I think, if I can just move that out of the way, is are you seeing a map?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is on our website. You can't access it yet. You only get it if you register. But the aim is there's only a few there. I'm a bit struggling to use this. There you go. They're the ones that have come in so far. But if you imagine we've got potentially 1,700 to add into there. So the process that we've asked everyone who's registered to do now is to put their details in. The idea here is you click on an event, you can see what it is, where it is, who's organizing it, how it's being organized, you can contact them. And this is important, obviously, on multiple levels, so people can coordinate and work together, look at the timings of different screenings, and then maybe move their screening, or maybe join that screening, maybe join together and combine screenings. But as it multiplies out, it's really important that we see more and more dots on this map to demonstrate that we're all wanting change and show those MPs what we really think. I think some of you may have noticed an amazing study that came out today saying that MPs are grossly overestimating the sort of reform view of anti-net zero view of things and underestimating what we all here think. So building this sort of collection of screenings across the whole country is all part of this because we're trying to show them the evidence in terms of actually watching the film, but also the evidence in terms of the amount of screenings that are going on.
Nick, just clarifying question there from Andrew Malifant, National Association of Local Councils. How do we register, please? Keen to show the map to others. So you just walk people through register, just go
Yeah,
through
very
the
easy. I will.
registering.
I can take. I'll share that link now, but let me bring up the page. If you go onto our website, I'm going to. Are you seeing our website?
Yep.
Yeah. You go onto our website. At the top there, you'll see the film. You click on that, and that's everything you need to know. There's a little register interest form there, and then we'll send you everything you need to take it through those stages. So
Great.
that's really important. And if you already have registered, we'll have sent you this form asking you to put all your information in, populate the map. That again is important. One of the best hooks we're going to get with the media is if we can go to them and say, this isn't an ordinary film, something is happening here because we have this ludicrous level of interest. And to give you an idea of that, we've got the church wanting to put it on in cathedrals and churches across the country. We've got Unison wanting to show it at 700 branches. We've got you guys and all the amazing work you're doing. We've got Zero Hour. We've got WWF. We've got Parents for the Future. We've got Mothers Rise Up. We've got so many groups coming in wanting to get involved in this. We've got big corporates thinking they want to show it to their staff. So it's really important. That's obviously the most amazing news for us, but it's really important that we build all that into this map because what we're trying to do isn't just allow you to connect with others. We're trying to prove a point here and get the publicity we need to drive, more attention to the film. So We've got our notice board, which I'll share, which will tell you what the latest happenings are at our end. But the document that we've launched recently, we've launched two. The first is the screening guide, which is this, and the second is the facilitation guide, which I think Linda Aspie might be on this call, and her and Mike Berners-Lee have been incredible helping us produce that. So if it's okay with all of you, I was going to sort of walk you through the screening guide to give you an idea of what's on it, how it works. And again, we're
Brilliant.
always on hand for questions, but feel free if there's anything that's really confusing you to interrupt, or we can wait till the end, up to you guys. Um, Very simple introduction saying what it is, what it does. Some people have asked to print it out. It isn't really something that's going to help you if you print out because it's full of hyperlinks taking you to other documents and other pieces of information that will help you mount your screening. But for people who haven't been involved, it tells you what the NEB is and was. We have a contents page. We don't need to linger there. So the first is a little bit of background, the purpose of the screening. The main point to say here is we're not releasing this film on YouTube. We're not releasing this film for people to watch on their own. We live in a world where we all watch our content in isolation. And actually, what this film is about building bridges and bringing people together, and very importantly, bringing the MP into that environment in a positive, cooperative way. So the screenings need to be in constituencies, in town halls, village halls, churches, wherever people want to hold them, and that's the essence of how the film will work. When we've done all that and exhausted it, we'll look at a release, and who knows, it might get on TV. Um, the next slide here is just giving you an overview of what our mission is. You know, we started off in that ridiculously pompous building in London. That was like our calling card, aiming at getting MPs to attend, getting business leaders to attend. But ultimately, we knew we'd only get the most committed MPs who already get it. So there was always a plan to move from there to a phase two. So we went from the briefing to sharing out the content as far and wide as we can. Please do keep doing that up from our YouTube channel and our website. But then phase two was to take the film, as I mentioned, repackage it and bring it to people across the country, which is what we're talking about here. And then the ultimate goal is this could be a long shot, couldn't it? The government briefs the nation. But if the government doesn't brief the nation, they're going to carry on giving us policies that are far, far, far from adequate until we all face it together and have that frank conversation. So that's our overall objective summarized there. We've got a little bit about what a successful screening is, and you can read this at your leisure, but important points to pick out. We don't just want those in the bubble to all watch this together and all talk to each other about what we probably already mostly know about. Um, Although, side note, we had in the briefing a room full of people who work in climate and nature who were shocked at some of the things they heard because they only know their little slice of, the work they do. So the point on this slide though is really about bringing in people from outside the bubble. It's also about bringing the MP along in a positive way and other influential people, the Chamber of Commerce, local business people, anyone you can think of who is part of the fabric of your community. Points in here about being, non-judgmental, and we want the spaces to be well facilitated, which is why we've spent so long on the guide. I'm going to move on. Planning and promotion. So we have screenings really everywhere that will work as a screening, and we have got that happening now. An example, only today we sent off a rough cut of the film to some senior people in the church who want to see it first. As I said, they're looking at rolling out in lots of church properties. And then there are actually two or three groups in the NHS who all come together and they want to show it in all the teaching hospitals. Apparently, I didn't know this, but there's quite a few cinema screens in hospitals. And so they want to show that across the NHS. And we've got interest from libraries, councils, businesses, etc., etc. But the point there is to clarify everything is relevant. I have a little church in my village that's also a village hall. We can sit about 40 or 50 people in there. That is also a great venue. You don't have to have some grand fancy cathedral. That actually, if you think about it, sometimes the smaller venues are better. It's easy to ask questions and talk and feel included than when there's a big crowd. So this point here is going to when you get the screening guide, it will take you through how to do the map element. The map is now live. It's not in the menu system on the website because we want to fill it first before showing it off. But this slide will take you, there's the instructions where my cursor is, to a set of instructions that are very clear in explaining how you get your pin on that map. Invitations. Now, this is important. You can hold a screening, but if there's only you there, it might be quite dull. So you want to invite people, and we've got plenty of thinking going on here. How to invite MPs, how to invite different groups, how to invite councillors, and lookups, and there's all sorts of gems in there that will help you. When you see an underline, that means it's a hyperlink. So you click, and then you can click on the link to take you to one of those documents. So that will walk you through how to handle your invitations. They're basically templates that you can just copy and paste. Venue and ticketing. So you don't need to ticket your event. Again, my little Hampson church where I live, I don't think we'll be using tickets because everyone knows everyone personally for a start. But some people might want to do that. And we have got a guide to setting up a ticketed event using Ticket Tailor. Now, I didn't set up this element, so I don't know completely how it works, but I understand it's quite comprehensive. It's another important point to make is we are not charging a license fee for this film. So people can charge on the door, and speaking to our distribution partners, Cinema for All, that's quite common because some people have to pay for the hall hire, equipment hire. So asking for a couple of pounds on the door, that's all fine, and there is advice on that as well. But the point being that the NEB is not charging for this content. Here's a little bit about how we're doing the promotion. So we've got the black and the white and the red, and essentially one of the reasons the National Emergency Briefing made such an impact was our amazing partners, the Utopia Bureau, who are masters of design and strategy and advertising and messaging, all these things. That's why we had this look and feel that really made its mark. We've carried that through to the film. And even though the film is a slightly different messaging, so that's why you see what you see here and the style. And we've carried that into how we're going to promote the film using a series of posters. Now, bear with me here because it a little bit technical. We have a customizable poster, and so the idea of that is if you follow our aim, we want to show this in every single constituency town, everywhere. So clicking through on a link here, you go into a Canva template. If you've never used Canva, I appreciate this might be a little bit tricky, but it really is fairly straightforward. And one of the key jobs on my list is to record a little video explainer of how to do it. But you open up Canva and it allows you to edit where you see Stockport and where you see the details down there. You can edit those two boxes and put your details in. I mean, Phoenix, you'll know people are making all sorts out of these posters and turning them into other things, which hey ho, that's how it is. But that's the objective. Now it's also got a QR code in there. If you are that technical or you know someone is, you can create your own QR code for your event, or that QR code will just take you to our film page. Now, some people have said, I don't want to go to a professional printer for this, and I obviously can't print all black at home, which obviously that will be crazy. You use up all your ink. So there's a link down here to a black on white version for home printing. So, video explainer coming up on how to make that work if anyone's struggling. Now, in support of that, we've got a whole series of posters, and there's about 6 or 7 more coming, and some of them we're adapting as we go and listening to the feedback we're getting. And so those posters again can be printed on white for home printing, or you can go down a printer and just use them to promote your event. Now, this is a hard one to get right because and we've got top class creative people behind this in the Utopia Bureau. But if you think about it, if we screamed, "Hey, it's a climate film, come and watch it," we'll only end up with people in the bubble. So we're trying not to go down that road. But as some people are observing when they're promoting their event, maybe we should have a little reference to the content to get people more interested. So essentially, you're going to see more posters coming through here. With different messaging on that you can try out. And each one that you can click, it will take you to a folder that's got different versions for printing, for putting on WhatsApp, for putting on social media, that kind of thing. And then here is where the trailer is going to land when I've uploaded it, which will probably be first thing tomorrow morning. and you'll be able to download your copy of the teaser trailer there. There you can see Chris Packham in front of the giant LCD screen. And that the way we'll do that is we'll post it on our social media. So you're welcome to go to those links and amplify our posts, or you're welcome to download the trailer and post it directly onto your social media platforms. I mean, it really should be up to you how you want to play that. A little bit of guidance on the local press. Now, it's such a mission to get in the mainstream press. I mean, it really is hard, especially if you, well, for obvious reasons, when you think about who owns the mainstream press. And we are making headway there. I can't tell you any more than that, but we are making headway. But at the same time, local press is fabulously important and highly trusted. And we think one of the key things we're hoping our screening hosts will do is by using this slide and these links, you've got links to that will, where you can find who the local press is, what their email contact details are, etc., etc. And you've got a press invite sample template there. You've got quotes you can use from the event in your press release. And there's plenty of material there that will enable you to essentially invite local press to your screening. I think that's the best way to get a story out of it. You could have the screening and take some pictures and send it to the local press, but I think the probably the preferable way is to bring that local journalist to your event. But again, if that's not something you feel comfortable with, do not worry. We've got enough screenings to know that that this will happen on plenty of occasions. Okay, getting into the sort of nitty-gritty, we've got a timeline checklist. So if you're the organizer, we have a lovely little document that will take you through all the things you need to do in the build up to your event and when you need to do them. So showing the film, this is technical stuff, but it just explains how and the practicalities of how you get this film onto that projector. So we've had lots of questions like if it's streamed. I'm in my local town hall doesn't have internet, so so essentially we'll be sending you an MP4, a video file, um, probably a week beforehand. We're just trying to work out how far before to go. But we had a drop-in Zoom on Monday, and a few people were saying, my main worry is getting all those people into that room and not being able to make the equipment working. Trust me, I've been there. Anyone who's done projections or presentations, it's the nightmare scenario when you're trying to be in a room full of people whilst concentrating on technology you don't understand. So sending out your film early will allow you to test it, to go and plug the projector in, to take it to the venue and do all those things. What we will have to do by doing that is essentially trust you that you won't bang it onto YouTube uh, and effectively take away our concept of people watching this together. We don't want the film to be on general release, thrown out there so people can watch it on their own yet. So you'll be given that trust saying, look, here's the film, please guard it and hold it and just use it for your event. There's a few other things to say, like if you're working with a cinema and there's plenty of people approaching their local cinema, they have a request for a different format. It's called a DCP. It's just a package of files that work for cinematic projection. It's nothing to worry about. We'll provide that and you can download that. It's quite straightforward. We'll also have a BBFC certificate, which will probably be a 15, I imagine, because there's a few shits and fucks in the film. Excuse my language. Also on here, we're going to have a technical guide, which will take you through information on using projectors, hiring the equipment, that kind of thing. That is coming from our partners, Cinema for All, who basically they represent community cinemas across the country, so they know this stuff pretty well. Oh, and just to mention, quite a few people have asked us, will you just make sure there are subtitles on there? There will be subtitles on the film as well. So here's the bit. So if you're the host, you've worked out the promotion, you've done the invites, you've got your head around the technicals, you've obviously got your dot on the map so you can publicize your event and help us build that sort of head of steam that it's everyone wants this. And then you're going to be thinking about, okay, what on earth am I going to do when the film finishes and everyone turns around and looks at me and wants to talk? And it's quite a moment, isn't it? And we've had lots of help from Linda here. It's quite a moment that you're going to land some possibly very difficult information upon people. You might also have people who want to argue about whether it's true or not. You might have people who feel all sorts of different things in response to what they've just heard. And the idea is to facilitate a discussion that talks people through this whole process. And you can click here for the guide, and there are further guides from the amazing Climate Psychology Alliance here that you can read at your leisure. I'll just jump to another tab. So has my screen changed?
Yep.
Yeah. So I won't spend time running through this, but this is our facilitation guide. If you see tabs on your left, so the first tab is a crib sheet, just the basics of the structure of what we're advising you on, and the second tab is like the full set of instructions. I don't know whether anyone reads instructions when they buy new things at home. I don't, but if I'm not very good at that. But if you're the
I'm
person like,
chuckling because I have trouble with that as well.
yeah, exactly.
I can
Um,
just use.
so this was written by all of us together, and we're all people that don't really like reading instructions. So I think we've tried. It's written in friendly human speak,
There's the
and it
key, folks. Do it in a group of people and work through
yes,
it together
yeah,
and
and
help.
so it just takes you through the film screening, showing the film breaks, and it's got sample scripts on what you could say at each point, how you deal with reactions, what you do if the MP does come, what you do if the MP doesn't come, what you do at the end, and we'll come to this the end and the call to action. But let me just carry on back with the guide. Um, Talking beyond the event. Okay, so this is I suppose, the hard part. You've watched the film has landed, everyone's talked about it, you've gone through it, and you've facilitated discussion around it. And really, what we're trying to do here is talk about the what next. And I'm just going to jump slides because, yeah, additional asset. Because the there are a number of routes you can take, and I want people to be flexible here. And I think I spotted that my sister Kate is on this call, who runs Greener Henley. And as an example, they're literally going to take the screening, and then they've filled their screening with people who can make decisions at local council level and business people, and they're just going to get on with working through plans for the adaptation and how to respond to the crisis. So they're moving straight from the evidence straight into action with a sort of already ready-made format and structure, a group of people. That is one extreme. Again, going back to my church, you might just sit there and say, hey, well, why don't we form a WhatsApp group? Why don't we do different things together so we can carry this forward? So you don't have to get too stressed about that you have to go and save the world following this film, all of you personally, because that's not how it works. But let me take you through where it could go. So the NEB has its own call to action. And our call to action is all about the politics and getting decisions made at the top that are commensurate with the evidence that we face. So what we're seeing now, and the UK has done plenty of things, especially in the energy sector, but energy is only one-fifth of the energy that we use. But what we want to try and instill on the government is their approach is kind of orientated around business as usual. It's okay. They've created targets, but they're woefully inadequate, and they don't really have plans in so many sectors beyond what we've already achieved. So the idea that we are trying to press home is for the MP to be invited to this event, and then for that pressure from that event to be used to lobby the MP to go and sign what we're calling the parliamentary call. So we want as many MPs as possible to sign what's called a parliamentary call for a televised emergency briefing. And if we can flip, say, half the MPs of all of them, there's a huge chance that we then get our overall mission objective of this televised briefing. So there's loads you can do there, and we'll give you all the tools to do that. From inviting your MP, from lobbying your MP if they don't come, and from running further screenings in your constituency and inviting them once again and again and again. And it's really important this because the MP could say no to one invite, two invites, but if they keep popping up in the constituency, particularly if they're held in a church or a cathedral or some interesting space, it's going to be quite hard for them to consistently say no. So that's what we want this process to drive from our end. We're going to have a little guide here that says coming soon about showing you what to do next in much more detail. But the other element of this is so we've got our asks, the televised emergency briefing, and then we've got in your area, in everyone's area, we've got all these amazing local groups from Zero Hour to Friends of the Earth to Greenpeace to Antidote to the Climate Majority Project, and they're all fantastic. we are as an organization absolutely committed to furthering everything that they do. And the reason why we're orientating it like this is because there's no one thing that any one organization can point to that will solve everything, because this is a poly crisis. So we need changes everywhere. We just need more people in the field of making changes. So NEB gets its mission of pushing people to get their MPs to sign the parliamentary call. Great. And then from there, we want this sort of movement to blossom into all these other actions you can take. And Phoenix, your group's got lots of great ideas there as well. The XR element, and so there's so many avenues people can go down, and they need to be really diverse because everyone comes at this from a slightly different perspective. So we think that's really important. I'm just going through here now to see what the other items are. Additional support. I mean, this is fairly rudimentary information for Cinema for All. There's previous Zooms. You can watch another Zoom about this screening guide. We have something called NEB connectors, where if you want to become an NEB connector, it's all about trying to further what we're doing, and we give you resources to do that. Information on hiring your equipment. This is like our index at the bottom here. An asset library. So everything you saw in that guide is listed in this library. So if you're going around looking for where the heck is that customizable poster or the guide to setting up ticketing, it will all be in here. A little bit of an acknowledgement at the end, and that's the closing slide. There's Chris staring at the LCD screen. Um,
Oh, beautiful.
so I think on that note, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, have a sip of my zero alcohol beer, and I'm ready for questions.
Lovely, folks. So if you want to use the reactions, put your hands together and send some love to Nick there across the screen. That's fantastic. And to you and all of the National Emergency Briefing team and everyone out there who's doing their best to find a space to show this. This is the big wake up call for us all to get mobilised for resilience and sustainable futures. So if you've got a question for Nick about that or anything, there is at the bottom of your screen, you'll either see a Q&A box, in which we've got 7 questions in already, or there's 3 dots that say more. If you
Miss.
click on that, you can then click on the question button and you can put a question in. The question will disappear, but we will call you in order of who's put it in their questions. It helps us get questions in a short and focused way. So the first person there out the University Challenge was Dennis Lidner. As a question about New Zealand. Dennis, do you want to ask that question? Over.
Hey there. Yeah, I was just wondering because I'm in New Zealand and I was just wondering if there's a possibility to show the movie here, in a rural area at the other side of the world.
Yes, the simple answer is yes, definitely. I think we're going to have a screening in Nepal as well. So we're Dennis, we're all for that. I can also tell you that we've got groups in Germany, in Holland, in Norway, in Finland, Canada, who all want to actually run briefings, national emergency briefings. The Germans have got their own logo. They're booking the Bundestag. That's all really exciting. I can tell you the Americans were really into this, and they still are going to do something, but they've just faced reality and said, you know what, guys, we it's so crazy over here. We can't quite do the same thing as you were doing. But yes, Dennis, if you go onto our website through the link from
Somebody's just popped in their view there. I'm not sure quite what's. Carry on. Yep.
Dennis, if you go onto our website, you can register and we'll
Lottie.
send you what you need.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that.
Brilliant. Thank you. Greg Cooper's up next with a question about registering.
Yeah, hi. Actually, my questions have been answered in chat, but I had another question instead, if I may. I've approached 4 local organisations who've expressed interest in showing the screening, but local organisations you probably appreciate, like churches and libraries, are quite conservative, and in some cases they might ask to view the film before they agree to show it. To some extent, the trailer is addressing that issue, but I wondered if you had any comments or thoughts on that.
Yes, and that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that because I forgot to mention. It's come up a lot actually. We've got I don't know if you heard of Operation Noah, but it's part of the faith groups. It's a sort of environmental movement in there. And before the church have agreed to do showings, we've actually sent them a rough cut. So it makes total sense. You can't bring a whole load of people together in a religious space without knowing what it is you're about to project. So if you register for your screening, we will send the film out about a week in advance. But if there's a particular need to say I can't even register this until I've given this organization a preview, just say that in your on the form, and we'll respond, and we'll simply just send them a link via you, and they can watch the thing and then decide.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Nick.
No problem.
That's great. Just to say, I had a quick chat with some church sector coordinator today, Mark Francis, and there's outreach going out to Muslim groups and to Buddhist groups and to sacred activists as well. Thanktivists, I think. I think Annie Mitchell was next up. Helen, I see your hand.
Yeah, just to say in Leeds, we are going to do 2 screenings the first weekend, the first week, for people who are interested in putting the film on. So that way we can then get everything there.
Well, that's exciting because that's my hometown. So, have you got any venues sorted yet?
Imagine Leeds Climate Emergency Centre. We're going, and then we're looking at doing one for the town hall. But like I've spoken to my MP, and he might help me get it round his ward, but he wants to see it first.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's come up a few times, people wanting to see things first, but that is work in progress, isn't it, Nick? People can do that.
Yeah,
with a
that is
council
all
or
you have
church
to do is
person.
point that out in your when you register. And we've now, at first we thought we can't just throw the film around, but no, we've made peace with that. We totally understand that, and thinking about it, I will be the same. If you're going to commit time and resources to something and your reputation, you need to know what it is that you're showing. So I understand that.
So it's Annie Mitchell next, and then Andrew Malifant. If you want to ask your questions, Annie.
I just think maybe I'm not alone in feeling a little bit overwhelmed by everything. Just as one tiny bit of simplicity, can you just remind me, who do we get emails from? Who do I search for when I'm looking to make sure I've had all your emails?
Let me just bring that up and make sure I've got it exactly right. It'll be info at any briefing.
Info.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
To add to that, there was about 3 or 4 other people in the group chat who had expressed a similar frustration today.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. I'm looking now, and it's info dash national emergency briefing.
Info dash national emergency. Okay.
So
Do you know what? I totally sympathize with that, and it's almost like the world of email, we're losing control of it because you can never find anything. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Surely it must be info at.
I'm just looking at what comes. No, so that's the address. I'm looking at what comes up in my email list when I look at the emails. As I would view them if I was looking for something. The email that you would type into the top of the screen is info at anybriefing.org. But what comes up in your email system as in the list when you're looking down them is the info dash national emergency briefing.
Okay. So we've got a number of questions there, quite a few in the in the question box. I'm going to go with them because those people are in the kind of queue, Stephen. I see that. If you want to pop your question in, maybe in the Q&A box or the 3 dots down the bottom, if you want to click down there and put your question in. So the next person up, and let's try and keep things short and focused because there's about 10 plus questions. Andrew Malifant from the Great Collaboration and National Association of Local Councils, getting out to 300 councils and 10,000 town and parish councils. Andrew.
Thank you. Quickly, hi Nick. Been in touch before. With a great collaboration, we've been working to bring town and parish councils together with their communities to do a range of climate action and nature recovery locally. Hence, when I came across the film and the screen, very keen to make sure that the community action element of it, without taking away from the political campaigning element of it, was fully supported. So we've been putting some things together about that. So thank you. I've used your great facilitation guide, and there was a recorded discussion that was happened with Verena Henley that Linda attached. We'd had our own meeting last night, and I'll just put it in the chat. We've actually put something together about that, which hopefully will be helpful, which is really about helping people think ahead of who they need to get involved and how they get processes together so that some community action can flow thereafter. So the question was that obviously I'm keen to share it with you and see how that fits in with what you're doing. It's sort of a bit like your timeline, but it's coming from our position of really trying to encourage more local action.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Welcome.
So just to say, folks, there's about 10, 12 different sectors. I'm going to post them in the chat shortly, but Andrew is one of the kind of link people or sector coordinators for councils. So we're asking people to, link up whatever it is, church or council or sports groups, lawyers, university students, business and industry, that kind of thing, so that we can really push this both through the regions and the sectors, and all of these linked up with the main NEB team as well. Next up, I think we've got Helen Plowman and then Mary Ellen. Do you want to go for your short questions? And then Councillor Wilf. Helen. Helen Plowman. Can you hear us, Helen, or on mute? I can ask Helen's question if she isn't popping up. About swearing, not sure that will go over some people. I'm not sure there is any swearing in the film, but is there a younger version still in the pipeline, was a question, Nick.
No, there is swearing in the film, but we will have a bleeped version.
Oh, fuck.
So,
bleep.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we will
got a
be
bit of humour ever so often,
Thank
folks.
God for that.
the version that's going into cinemas will be the sweary version. There's not a lot of swearing in it, but we got some celebrities in there. Celebrities tend to swear. And also there's something that we learned in doing climate science breakthrough, that the language, someone once said to me, I'm sure there was quite a bit of swearing on the decks of the Titanic. So I think swearing just makes it more real, but obviously the church really aren't going to want to do that. So we'll have a bleeped version as well.
And the
the
younger,
second part
go on,
was
Helen.
yeah, sorry about that. I wasn't, yeah. The second part was that there was possibly a more adolescent friendly version coming through at some point.
So
You had an educators on board or something.
Yeah, so we're recommending it sort of 16 plus. So we've got a group that have named themselves the NEB educators. So they all work in the teaching profession, and they've all come together, and they have got some amazing resources, actually, guides for teachers. They're trying to take it into every school, and they're quite happy that it's 16 and upwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is a version that you could do for younger people, but it would have to be a completely different entity. It would, yeah, but that's a bit beyond us at the moment. But yeah, so sixth form colleges and students in university. So
okay, thank you, Helen. Mary Ellen, next one. So we've got about quite a few questions, folks. So let's keep it short and focused if we can. Mary Ellen from DPAC. Disabled People Against Cuts. Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen, can you hear us?
Yeah, I struggled to unmute it, but I've just done so. Thank you. And thanks, Nick. I do have a question, and that's about BSL. I just thought it would be really amazing if you can organize for the original to have a BSL interpretation added, so that all the screenings then that are sent out all have all BSL accessible, and thus improve accessibility and inclusion. And yeah, if that's possible, it would be really, really good.
And so I understand you, Mary, is that so that's signing essentially?
British Sign Language.
British Sign Language.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember, but when we had the COVID briefings, the daily briefings, it took us a long time to get them to include BSL in
okay.
briefings, because disabled people get left behind, and
totally understand. Yeah.
So it is modelled on the COVID briefing. So Nick, any movement there?
Well, all I can say is I promise you we'll look at that, and whatever we can do, we'll do it. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mary Ellen. Councillor Will Farrow from Havant. Bless Mary Ellen. Councillor Will Farrow.
Hello there. Yes. Hello there. Just a question about, I mean, escaping to YouTube would be a bit of a disaster. Is there any way to fingerprint each copy so that we know who to attack to get it taken down?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So there are certain services. So when you rent something online, you can watch it only in a specified time. There are certain services like that, but from talking to so many people, it adds such a complication that a lot of people will be uncomfortable with. Plus, if you're out of Wi-Fi, even if you've downloaded it, if you rent something off Apple and you can't connect to the internet, even though you downloaded it, you still can't watch it because it has to go and reference the permission online. So talking to people who run community cinemas and people in the cinema world, they're saying People are just sending out MP4s and it's on trust. Now, even if you had a, like you say, a system or fingerprint system, they could still scrape that content and put it on YouTube. So if it does land on YouTube, we can contact YouTube and ask for it to be taken down. But as someone who's tried to put out climate films before, good luck to anyone getting lots of views on YouTube because that's actually really hard. Most things have all this work put into them, land, on YouTube or other platforms and barely get seen. So I think it's a problem we'll just have to work with, and we're going on trust here.
Phoenix, hello.
Phoenix, you're muted.
Right, as somebody started some band practice on the floor below me, so I thought, don't know if you can hear it, but if you can't hear it, I won't worry about it. Right, so Maren Freeland, about the emotional impact. There is stuff already within the guide about Climate Psychology Alliance, isn't there, Nick?
Yeah, that's really good to hear that that is in there. I guess there's always the after that, so I'm looking forward to reading all of that and studying it, but the sort of bigger impact when it lands, hopefully it will be screened, national TV and stuff, but what is the emotional impact on the population, and have we thought about that?
Yeah, the simple answer there is, and I think she might be on this call, but the amazing Linda Aspey from the Climate Psychology Alliance has been at the forefront of putting together our facilitation guide. So lots of thought has gone into this. So we've done all we can, and there will be options to help train people up and offer facilitators at events. So there's more we can do there. If you roll it forward and they do a sort of TV national emergency briefing, do you know how I think of this? It's all someone said this in the film actually. They said when they'd seen all the evidence, do you know what? Before I had all this sort of nebulous sort of just thing I was just scared of, but I didn't really understand it. Now I've heard a lot more, which is scary, but I'm feel better because I know exactly what it is. I also know that it's quite clear we've got all this knowledge, technology, and ability to deal with it. So I think it's undeniably scary content. But when you present people with something that, this is what gets me out of bed in the morning, it's a solvable problem. If we told you all this, said, by the way, we don't know how to deal with it. We haven't got any solutions. We haven't invented them yet. We've invented just about everything we need to solve this. It's a political problem. So that's where I think it softens it up. And then you've got the whole process of connecting people with other people, and then looking at all these amazing things that are being done around the country, that not only tackle the problem, they make people feel a whole lot better and enthused and inspired by actually doing something.
That's good. I think that's Mara, and maybe we went to Prague back in 2001 for the IMF protest. I'm not sure that. I think that might be Mara. Nice to see you, mate. I hear you. I think Ken Huggins up next, North Dorset councillor.
Yeah, thanks, Phoenix. Just a quick one, Nick. I suspect I know the answer. I presume all the various graphs are going to be shown, are they? Because one of the frustrations of watching it on YouTube is all you see is the speaker and you can't see the graphs they're referring to.
The graphs are definitely shown, but when you say watch it on YouTube, can't see the graphs, which version are you watching? Because
well, this was straight after it came out. Maybe you've changed things.
No, yeah, we edited every single talk, and with all its graphs, it took a bit of time.
Okay.
So do you know what? There was a syndicated news service that attended the briefing that put the content out.
Right.
And bizarrely, it was picked up, would you believe it, by GB News, who put the whole thing on there. Yeah. So that's what you might have seen. If you go
It
onto
was.
if you go onto our website or our YouTube channel, there is every single talk with all the transcripts and information in the description, and all the charts that come up there as well.
All right, that's great. Thanks. I should have known better than to rely on GB News.
No problem.
Okay, so I think Mike's got a quick question there about.
Hello, yeah. I'll just actually, it's been touched on that we'll be able to see it before we actually screen it. But I'm in the process of trying to find a venue and populate a discussion panel, and I'd like to understand. I need to see what it looks like. I need to see what it looks like before I do that. How soon can I see the film to decide how to shape the panel and choose the venue? will I be able to see the film?
I mean, we're not handing it out to anyone if they haven't got a booking, but if you come to us and say, I've got an organization and they've asked if they can preview it and tell us who that is, then we can send that over.
I'm already signed up, and I'm trying to find a venue in Winchester, and finding that hard. But it would really
Okay, we'll tell you what, the trailer lands tomorrow, so have a look at that. And you can use that to show to venues. But then if you do encounter one where they specifically ask that for a specific screening, I think the problem would be that if we just sent it to everyone, if they might want to screen it, then we would never be able to process all those emails.
And there's a screening in Hambledon nearby in April, so I will maybe just attend that because then I get to see it.
Oh, there you go, perfect idea.
Right, that's a good way of doing it, Mike.
And I've just shared our YouTube channel in the chat if anyone wants to go on there, and you can see all the individual talks.
Next up, we've got Jane, then Gordon. But just to say to Ed and Kevin, if you could put your questions into the Q&A box down the bottom, or the three little dots, you'll find it behind that. It helps because others have got a bit of a queue there. Jane Smith, then Gordon Braddock.
It was just wondering at what point you mentioned the main objective, the objective of getting a national televised broadcast. Sometimes people say that right at the beginning, or do you let it just come out at the end, or at what point and how much, where do you talk about the televised broadcast?
So good question. Thank you for asking that. So when you get the facilitation guide, it will walk you through every single step. And I think essentially, I'm just flicking through it now, but it's more important at the beginning, just of the conversation after the film, just to work out how everyone it feels, how it's landed, what everyone thinks, and then that slowly works through to the action part, and then we literally give you a sample script on how to talk through that. And again, please don't worry about that too much. You can point them to our website. People can go and explore that further, but you have very clear information in the facilitation guide.
Okay. Then Gordon Braddock with a question about music. I'd like to see
hi.
social afterwards as well. Over. Go on, Gordon.
Yeah, I'm here. I've got two venues. One's a church and one's a sort of community centre. And they'll have 300 people maximum in the church and 80 in the community centre, though I think that's probably optimistic.
Where, Gordon? Whereabouts, sorry?
In Emsworth, Hampshire. It would be good to play music while the people arrive and while they leave, and relevant music. And I know that on the internet there's a list of eco songs with number one is Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World."
Oh, what a wonderful idea. Respect to you. I'm a huge music fan and I hadn't thought of that.
I don't know how to compile it. I just wondered if anybody could do it and then we could all have a copy.
Oh, I'll love this job. I could make a playlist.
Come on, Nick. It's something that came up in the Humanities Project when I set them. They came for a weekend at the community I live at, and one of the things was how do we get more people engaged? And one of the things was, bring in a little bit more, people have a communication system, but, bring food, bring some other things that people can get involved with, have a bit of music afterwards or before. Kind of bonding. If people stay around and have a cups of tea and a bit of a social, and even have music for half an hour,
But that's just the sort of thing I'm thinking of, yes.
Yeah.
I would love
pleased to tell you that we cover tea and sort of atmosphere and all those things in the guide, but this is shocking that I missed this because I have music playing in just about every moment of my life. So that's a great idea. I could just add to that the music in the film is by a composer who lives locally, who actually did the music for COP21 when it was held in the UK. And so he's composing music for the film. It might also be that we can provide some of that music too. But leave that with me, Gordon. Brilliant idea.
I'd love to hear "Mercy, Mercy Me" by Marvin Gaye.
Okay, lovely. I think
there's Earth Song by Michael Jackson, but he's a bit dodgy.
Robert Palmer.
Just a quick one. Fraser's saying, not a question, but they're showing putting a screening on in Stirling in Scotland. We'll be registering soon. Linda Aspie, I know you've been doing a lot of work. Do you want to say your question or your statement, your info, Linda? Welcome.
Sure, yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, we've been working very closely with the NEB team and Mike, and we've done a couple of facilitation guides to help people to think about things differently, to think about the conditions that you create. But we're also at the Climate Psychology Alliance going to be running some free workshops for people who want to take a bit of a deeper dive. These are entirely optional. They cover the same material as the guides, but they just go into it in a bit more depth. We've got some funding to run them, but we're trying to look for more funding. So we welcome donations, but they are free. That's going to go live on Eventbrite tomorrow, and we're starting our first one actually on Friday. So and then we're going to be running a couple a week and more on demand and more depending on how much money comes in. So yeah, please do come along and have a think about how you want to facilitate. And it's offers some frameworks and models for you to think about the psychological conditions that you can create that help people to both take in difficult information and do it really, really well and treat them well, and actually see this as the start, a new start of community building. So it's not just a one-off event, you're creating a space that people really want to belong to. So I'll say no more.
Thank you so much, Linda. Do you know what? I knew that we had something in the frame about you running these, but I wasn't sure we'd nailed it down, so I didn't mention it. But thank you for that. Brilliant. And if I could just remind everyone, in this little notice board document that we've set up, now that's not what you want to see, is it? Can you see our notice board?
Yeah.
So that's where sessions like Linda's will appear. So I'll share that in the chat. So if you're not sure what's going to happen when, you go into this document, and we'll always have our latest helpful Zooms or any other assets popping into there.
Okay, brilliant. So I think Andrew's replying on that. Fraser, it would be good to have a group to discuss the after film discussion. Do you mean the strategy, or Fraser, quick one there, and then Graham Stoddart? We've got to be brief.
Yeah, I think I don't know whether this has been covered already on the Climate Emergency Centre group chat, but just obviously after the film, a big part of the film is going to be the discussion afterwards. So some sort of like pre-film discussion between ourselves as a group, sort of to think about what we're really trying to bring across and say. I think maybe Nick sort of covered that there was going to be some sort of guideline there. Just to clarify.
I think at the moment it's a community discussion / we were hoping for some more assemblies, but a community discussion sounds like an assembly, quite similar, but each group depends on their capacity and what their energy is. Nick?
Well, I think, as Linda just pointed out, so maybe take Linda up on some of those events, because that would be a great help. We're going to keep running regular Zooms, going through everything from our perspective. But if people, I think that's where the map's going to be very useful. If you look on that map and see all the people around you who've got a planned screening, it might be quite good for you all to get together and have conversations around that. That could be really helpful.
Okay. Graham Stoddart Stones?
Yeah, the rumour mill is flourishing here, and we've been told that there's an age limit, management age limit of 16 on attending this video, and I can't find anything here, and I wonder whether you thought about this, or Linda, maybe you have any thoughts about youngsters watching this film?
Yes, and we were in a Zoom on Monday, and someone raised that we should make it more apparent. So yeah, the way we're looking at this is 16 plus. And the BBFC certificate, I think the way that works, it's going to be a 15. So there's a bit of discrepancy there. We think that is the best approach. I don't know personally how the rules on this work if a parent wants to vouch for someone who's younger and bring them along. But I from our perspective, I don't think we should be advising below that, because I think some of the content is quite difficult.
Okay.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
That was Catherine Ross about screening in libraries, October. Catherine?
Hiya. I just wanted to check, you didn't mention what the time period is for showing screenings. I work in the library sector, and end of October is Green Libraries Week, which would seem like a natural fit, but I just didn't know whether end of October is too late for screenings.
No, absolutely not. The way they describe this in cinema world, it's got a long tail, apparently. So we are going to run this throughout the rest of the year, because this is about being a community-driven, grassroots, bottom-up, a process. So we want people to have plenty of time to make it fit with their own arrangements. But Green Libraries Week sounds great. So yeah, we'll still be running them.
Right. Okay. Remember, folks, it's April till the autumn, I think is what Simon said on a previous call. So, see it as a marathon, not a sprint. It's over many months. You don't have to rush it all in April and May. Kevin Stevens got a very interesting question there. It would be good if we learn from the early screenings to to learn the later ones, you know, to learn the learnings. Kevin Stevens.
Sorry, yes, I was muted. Sorry. Yeah, firstly, Nick, thanks to you and your team for all the amazing work you've done. It's inspirational, actually. You've created a real movement with this, so thank you. Yeah, it was just whether that map would be helpful to be searchable by date as well, so we can make contact with the earlier screenings and just, I know Linda's done an amazing facilitation guide, but just to see how that works in practice and what we can pick up for our screenings later on.
Great idea.
I will log that. I don't honestly know because it's only just gone live, but the map will be searchable by date. But certainly if it isn't, if you just zoom into your region, that you'll be able to see. So when a screening has happened, it will change color. So that'll be one.
Okay.
So that'll at least tell you that. And your point about learning as we go, absolutely, we are and have always been open to feedback. And I think the first few screenings are going to be really interesting, aren't they? That to help us. We'll probably end up, adapting some of these guides based on what happens in the early screening. So keep all your comments coming in when you've had a screening, and maybe it's a good idea when we're a month in to have a session with those who've already run them, and that could be useful as well.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I've got a couple more here, and then we'll jump to Ed and Linda. So Julian from the Swindon Climate Hub.
It's all wonderful. I was talking to someone yesterday in a church, and they were thinking of showing the NEB screening, but decided to show David Attenborough instead because they thought it would be more positive. Also, think organisations like the Climate Coalition, seem to, in their big Green Week, they want something positive and so on. Now, I assure them that it will have stuff that we can do about stuff. So, it is both, realistic, but also positive. I wondered if you could just reassure me that was the case. And secondly, it occurs to me that a good way, simple way of organising that a lot of people could actually see it in advance would be simply to do an online screening of it for all the people that are, invite all the people that are interested in showing it, because it may help them to promote it to the churches and other organisations where they might be able to get it shown.
Excellent points. I'll pick up the second one first because that has come up again, and I think we should look at that, and I think that will give people confidence as well when they sit down together and view that. In terms of is it positive or negative, it certainly has difficult content. There's no denying that, but I think and it does hit home. But I think it's overall a moving and uplifting process when you all come together and have that conversation about what you can now do. And what we saw in the room at the briefing, and I know it's different from the film, was a little bit of a sense of relief that it had been faced and said, and we'd all got it out in the open. So it's difficult, isn't it? If an organization just wants to do something that's purely positive, that I guess that's their choice. But I don't think there's much positivity in avoiding something that we all need to face. So my personal view is it's in the right place. I think we've got the tone about right.
I'm glad that this film is also talking about the solutions and things that we can do and empowering people when they come together, that it's not just doom. It is, we can build resilient communities when we come together.
Yeah, we wouldn't have put all this work in if we were in that sort of what you call the doomer camp. It doesn't make sense to us,
We have to give people hope. You have to balance the realistic climate truth and some of the doom with there is many things that we can do to organise communities.
Absolutely.
Ed, and then Ed's had his hand up for a while, and then Linda, and we'll wind up fairly soon. So thank you very much, folks. Ed, Linda.
Thank you. Just on that last point, I think we can point at the Climate Coalition Great Big Green Week as part of what happens at the end of the showing during the session as a very easy thing for people to get involved in. So I think there is a connection between the NEB and the Great Big Green Week. My point was, I wonder how we can maximise the use of the government reports that have been either come out or been reported in the Times just recently. There's two of them to help increase the impact of the NEB filming. So some of the conversations I've been having around the sort of Orban one that we're putting on potentially and elsewhere is, could we tack on at the start, even before we've shown the NEB film, the 9-minute ITV exclusive on the DEFRA MI5, MI6 GCHQ report potentially, because it does have a big impact in that it's ITV and it's spooks. This is a highly trusted source potentially, and then that sets the frame for the experts from the NEB, and also considering sending out pre-reads. So the actual 14-page DEFRA report, which is highly impactful, and perhaps even the Times article from yesterday, which I encourage people to have a look at. I put it in the chat right at the very start of the meeting and in the Climate Emergency Centre WhatsApp, which is also talking, this is a separate, different report, which is talking about food collapse potentially starting for the UK from potentially 2030. These are really high impact reports that would really perhaps help frame the NEB's film and increase its impact. I'm just wondering what you think of that, Nick.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Ed. I couldn't agree more, Ed, and amazing work on Rupert for his contribution to that, and for Ben Cook at the Times, which that's two now, isn't it? He's flying. I think, but the best way I've got of answering this is with the words of our of our expert who did the briefing on national security, Richard Nugey. He said a resilient nation requires an informed public. And I think that just plays into that, doesn't it? I mean, the government is thinking that it would be better if we don't tell people, when that is totally flies in the face of what any national security expert would say, because you can't make these big decisions if your population does not understand the problem. So if anyone wants to show that before their film, that's absolutely fine with us, because that really sets the framing. Essentially, the NEB exists because the government is not leveling with the public. So these stories are amazing fuel for that. And yeah, if you want to make it more poignant, be my guest. That sounds great.
Okay. So just a couple of things here, and then I'll come over to Linda. Just to say, on the CEC webinar on the 8th of April is actually John Fuller, who is big campaigning on you know, the aim of this campaign really is to get it shown on the BBC and ITV, and we're organising from top down with the MPs, but from grassroots bottom up. But John is, you know, got a strategy there for, you know, pushing the BBC with some complaints, then going to Ofcom, and then trying for a judicial review to get the BBC and ITV to show this. So John's doing the webinar on the 8th of April, and then we've got Hugh Montgomery, who spoke in November on the 15th of April. And some
I highly recommend you all turning up for Hugh. He's a fantastic speaker.
Yeah, very, very powerful. He's a top NHS kind of doctor. Coming over to Linda, and then a little bit, and then Nick to parting comments. Over.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick one. If anyone is thinking about holding a briefing specifically for young people between 16 and 25 years old, you might be working with the youth service, you might be working in a community group, and you know that it's going to be young people. Obviously, their concerns are very different from older people, and their processes and their ways of taking information in and making sense are very different too. So if you are thinking about doing that, or you know someone who is, if you want to get in touch with me at the Climate Psychology Alliance, we have a youth division specialising particularly in helping to meet young people's needs, and it can help you to think through what you might want to do a bit differently in your briefing and in the way you discuss. The film, you know, is still the film, and you know, for 16-year-olds upwards, but you know, do get in touch. We'd love to help you and support you to make sure this is supportive and positive and lands well for young people.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you very much, Linda. So what's to say, folks? We'll come over to Nick for final comments in a sec. We will leave this on for 10 minutes. Those who have to go can go, but you know, people like to chat sometimes, a bit of movement, community building afterwards. Just to say, from our end, from the CEC network, we hope and dream that, you know, many of these conversations, from seeing the film and the community discussion or assemblies that happen afterwards, we're hoping some of that information could be linked up across the country of what groups are actually discussing. Maybe it can turn into something that happens every few months or seasonally, you know, every 3 months there being some kind of community assembly, spring, autumn, summer, winter, where communities can get together and really keep organising. And the long-term dream would be some of those centres find an empty vacant shop on the high street and create a physical space where groups can meet and keep, you know, resilient community building for, you know, many other groups. This really is the big wake-up call, this film, and it's just the beginning of the next stage of a big, massive wave of the movement of movements. So let's keep organising on from the film, share our discussions, share our inspiration, share our ideas, put a bit of music on at the end, get your cups of tea out, roll up your sleeves, World War II mobilisation, let's dig in for victory and keep organising. Over to you, Nick, for parting final comments. Thank you so much for all the work you and all the team are doing. Over.
Okay, thanks everyone. And listen, thank you for having me and asking such brilliant questions. I've got a lovely list here. And once again, the only way we make this work well is when we do outreach and we help refine what we're doing. So you're all amazing for that. Thank you. The trailer will drop tomorrow. If you are on social media, not that I'm recommending that you should be, then please try and magnify what we're doing to help spread the word. And then I think the main thought to leave you with, there's all these things to do to get the whole screening to happen, and we'll help you in every way we can. But try and think about how we can get people who wouldn't normally listen to this kind of information into those screenings, particularly the MPs, but also as widely across society as we can get it, because that's really important. But thank you. Thank you.